Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Punching Up with Sean Conroy. I am Sean Conroy. I am punching up. You may notice, or you may not notice during the course of this episode, that I am desperately clinging to the microphone stand with my left hand, and that is because I just managed to snap one of the legs off the microphone stand. So it's a tripod that holds up this microphone that has become a bipod. And bipods are not nearly as unflappable in terms of not tipping over when they're not supported by that third leg. So we'll see what happens. Um, I just got back from New York. I drove across the country in 4 days, which was a lot of driving, a lot of time to reflect, a lot of time to ruminate. If you have regrets in your life, you'll find that the flat portions of the country, the sort of Ohio, Nebraska, Iowa, Illinois, much of Colorado. We think of Colorado as mountainous, and it is, but there's also parts of it that are there's not a lot going on. Anyway, you'll find those parts of the country are great for considering your regrets, and luckily I have none. So I mostly thought about ice cream and unicorns and popcorn. So it was great. Three of my favorite foods. I had a great time in New York and also a terrible time for a variety of reasons. I was at the Del Close Marathon, and just very specifically, I wanted to talk about one thing, which was that I ran into my friend Katie Dippold there, who is an improviser and performer and actress, but especially a writer. Katie has done quite a bit in the writing world in Hollywood. She wrote on Parks and Rec. She wrote a movie called The Heat, which starred Sandra Bullock and Melissa McCarthy, which was a very funny movie. She wrote a movie called Ghostbusters that she was the writer of, and Katie is just great. And I only saw her for a few minutes, but I think we all know that Katie is not just a writer anymore, and that's not to say anybody is just a writer. A writer is a big deal, but she is now the creator and showrunner of a television program called Widow's Bay, which you can find on Apple TV. Now, full disclosure, I have yet to see an episode of Widow's Bay, and I don't feel good about that. In fact, it's entirely possible that that was one of the things I ruminated about as I was driving across Nebraska. Is uh, kind of life is it when you still haven't seen Widow's Bay? Anyway, I have not seen it, but every person I have talked to about it has raved about it and recommended it and said it is so great, you will love it. Now, that doesn't mean that every person who has seen it has raved about it, but every person that I have spoken to that has seen it. So it's a Venn diagram in the middle of which are people I have seen who haven't seen it and people who have seen it who I haven't seen. Um, but the people who fall in the middle of that are all raving about it. And what I find really interesting about Widow's Bay is that apparently, I'm not sure if I'm being completely accurate here, but that's not what I'm going for on this show. I'm not going for accuracy. I'm going for, I guess, romance and joie de vivre. The script, the very first version of the script for Widow's Bay was a spec script that Katie used when she got hired for Parks and Rec, when she started writing on Parks and Rec. And that is a long time ago. That goes back quite a ways. So what I'm saying is I came up as an improviser, and improv, the beauty of improv is that when it's really, really good, you are throwing diamonds in the ocean. It disappears as soon as it's over. It's completely ephemeral. So that was how I learned, and that was how I trained, and that was how I thought of stuff was it's there and it's gone. If it doesn't hit right away, it doesn't matter. And Katie had this spec and it just stayed in her mind for years and years. And she rewrote it and worked on it and kept believing in it. And now she's running a show on Apple TV, which is amazing. Amazing. And a show that people love and a show that people have said to me, like, the tone of it is so exactly Katie. So I find that inspiring. I think that what I take from that is believe in yourself, believe in your ideas, know that even if your ideas are not like everybody else's or not what other people think is funny or well, hopefully they do think it's funny and clearly they think Widow's Bay is funny. Um, but it's that idea of like if you really think this thing is going to work, don't let anybody tell you it isn't. One thing I read an interview with Katie and she talked about how um, she when she's been living in LA for a while, and when she would go back to New York, she would always go to the Museum of Natural History. Now, if you have never been to the Museum of Natural History in New York, you have to go. It is a very cool place. I mean, it's a place that I loved when I was a kid, and then when I was teaching junior high school, I taught at a school literally right around the corner that had a science program affiliated with the Museum of Natural History, and that was where we would meet up for graduation every year. We would go and watch the balloons being inflated for the Thanksgiving Day parade. They did it right at the Museum of Natural History. Anyway, it's just a cool place. It's the place with the blue whale on the ceiling. And I loved going there when I was a kid. They had these dioramas of life-sized figures from various periods of, the Paleolithic era and the disco era, just various times. And Katie said she would go there every time she was in New York and she would think about, because she had this Widow's Bay spec, she would think about what the version of that museum in Widow's Bay would look like. And she said that really opened the world up to her. And that, I thought that was so cool because it is like, what is it about this thing I'm writing that makes it interesting and unique and different? And how can I put that across to people? And what do I look at to go, here is what I want you to understand about this world? So anyway, I loved uh I loved that I love that story. And I love the idea that it's okay to hold on to things, hold on to ideas and don't let people doubt you. Um so that's it. Yes, there you have it, everybody. Don't let people doubt you. Do not allow them to do that. Obviously, that's impossible. There are always going to be people who doubt you. What I'm really saying is don't let other people doubting you affect your belief in yourself. Don't doubt yourself. By the way, a lot of these, when I'm talking to everybody just by myself, I'm trying to convince myself of things. I've been doing this a long time and I am still relentlessly plagued with self doubt. It never goes away. So I'm trying to convince myself not to feel that way. And by the way, that episode, I was lying. I did not just get back from driving across the country. I actually recorded that whole thing a week ago. That's when I had just gotten back. So now I've been here for a week. I hope we release this very soon so that this doesn't also turn out to be a lie. Or maybe it's not a lie. Maybe it's more just a mistake if I get the timing wrong. And maybe nobody cares. That's entirely possible. I don't know how people feel about that sort of thing. But Anyway, here's the last thing I wanted to say at the end of this episode is that if you are interested in working on your sitcom pilot in any way, I'm going to do a workshop here in Hollywood, and I am going to do it in person. I have not done an in-person writing workshop in a long time. I've done some improv stuff, but not writing, and I'm very excited about it. It will be July 11th, which is a Saturday of July 11th of 2026. It's not, I don't promote things that far in advance. Saturday afternoon, 3:30 p.m. at the Broadwater Theater here in Hollywood. We're going to talk the workshop. The point of the workshop is funny versus story. Because one thing I see a lot when people are writing their first pilot or their second pilot or sometimes their third or fourth is that they have a lot of funny events. Things happen. Oh my gosh, this hilarious thing happened, and also this other hilarious thing happened. But that doesn't necessarily make it a story. There are specific components to a story that need to be included. So how do you take your funny and turn it into a story? That's what we're going to talk about in this workshop. The workshop will be about 45 minutes to an hour. They do have a cocktail lounge at the Broadwater, so we may head over there afterwards for a drink or two. I would love to see you there. Go to my website, sign up for my newsletter, and it will include all this information again and again between now and then. So, and obviously you can always email me, Sean@SeanConroy.com, if you want to know more about these things. So please rate and review the podcast, and we will see you next time on Punching Up with Sean Conroy. That's me. Bye.